Why should I embrace being alone and at the same time overcoming it? What do you think?
Mm, I can only share my point of view. In my understanding, feeling lonely at first is a state of mind. That means loneliness itself doesn't mean to be harmful. For example, we feel lonely. It's okay to feel lonely at some points in your life. Yeah, it's something normal. But the problem starts when loneliness is going to be persistent in your life, when it continues to be just there. Yeah. Now that's a situation we want to overcome. But now, for example, let's think of another person, a person who already has a lot of friends, a person
Like you do.
a person who also is very active with this friends group. So like social interaction is not a problem for him or her. That the moment he gets home, even after like a whole day of activities, he, for example, maybe feels jealous. He maybe feels jealous because like his other friends are still going out, they're still having a blast, something like that.
Yeah.
That's also a negative and like this destructive situation for yourself, for your mental health, but it's something different.
Yeah.
It also is something, a topic concerning loneliness, but different. And that's why there is a difference between embracing it, and overcoming loneliness. But both aspects are important.
Yes.
I think. Sorry to interrupt you. I think actually let's just start with the first group, like of the first person that actually does feel lonely over a long period of time. So actually it is in a mental state where it just is harmful for himself.
I can actually mention some personal experience when it comes to it.
Yeah, please share it if you want to.
Okay, I will start with a personal experience when it comes to this topic. Having experienced deep loneliness when I firstly moved to Austria at 19, not knowing anybody, not knowing the place. I've never visited Austria or Graz at the same at that time. And
you also didn't speak the language, right?
Of course, no. I started over, let's say.
Yeah.
I've worked through this topic, through these struggles, in many ways for many years, as we have often discussed. But I'd like to explore it more now with you, so maybe we can talk more about it. If someone hears that or experiencing the same, is struggling the same, what would you suggest? How can we deal with it, with the feeling of being alone, with the feeling of loneliness?
Of course, I only can tell from my experience. And every time I face a problem, it doesn't matter what kind of problem, I always have 3 steps that actually solve every problem I ever faced. So the first step is to accept that, okay, hey, there is something and I need to change it. Then the second one is to actually understand the problem, because how could you overcome it if you don't even understand what the problem is?
Or even accept it.
Yeah, that's the first step, of course. And thirdly, actually doing something, being active, working against the problem. So the first part is self-explanatory, accepting it. Yeah. The second part is more more interesting and a bit more challenging, because we need to actually understand what the problem is. Let's just focus it again on loneliness. As I mentioned at the beginning, loneliness is a state of mind. So loneliness does not happen when you are like physically alone, but loneliness is something you pursue. Like it's the relationship with other humans, and the way you pursue it, the way you understand it, that's loneliness. And loneliness is something, as I mentioned before, destructive if it persists.
Yeah, if it continues for a long time.
If it continues for a long time. And there can be many reasons. And I thought about some reasons. Firstly, I think society, the rules of society is one huge reason why people feel lonely. The pressure society gives you. Yeah. For example, like just open up Instagram. Every or most happy people are surrounded with friends. That kinda gives you like this pressure that if you want to be happy,
you have to be like this.
Yeah, you have to have friends
and pictures that show you.
Yes,
it's like a guideline. Sometimes, if you want to be happy, then you have to show it like this. Or if you're happy, you're mostly surrounded by others, or you're like. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Like it's actually it's like a guidance. It's actually a very good comparison.
Yeah.
It's like they show you and they tell you how you should be happy. Yeah. And every picture is like everyone's smiling.
it's raising glasses.
Yeah, and it's like 100 friends are around you.
Yeah.
But that's not the reality. Yeah. That's not what happiness is. That's how it's portrayed in one picture, but one picture is just a moment. You have to realize that.
Yeah. I actually wanted to dive deeper into these 3 steps that you take.
Yeah.
To overcome a problem, let's say.
Yeah.
Because I think those are really helpful. And since I also tried to work on my problems at first with accepting a problem, I would like to know how can we firstly start with it, because I see that many people, when they have a problem, they just distract themselves. They don't even go to the part of accepting it, that there is a problem. They just distract themselves. They start drinking, they go out more, or start smoking. I don't know. There are a lot of ways, of unhealthy ways, let's say, in my opinion, that people start doing when they are struggling. And they don't even realize that there is a problem and I need to accept it and face it.
Yeah. Well, to accept a problem is to accept yourself. And I think that's the major point where people try to push it away, like to do something else. Most people try to distract themselves.
Yeah.
Like with so many different activities. And I always think of like they have like a bag on their shoulders. I love hiking.
I love that.
I love hiking, and maybe people who already were hiking, if they have a huge backpack on their back, and if they walk for like many hours, they don't realize, or I personally, I don't realize that I'm having this much weight on my shoulders. Yeah. And when I'm at the top and I like finish the mountain and
finish the hiking.
Yeah, and put down the weight, only then I realized, Jesus, how much weight was on my shoulders. How like that was exhausting. And the same thing is with pushing with problems. If you don't accept, because everybody knows when they have a problem.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows like that's something wrong.
Yeah.
Something's not right.
Right.
And I think everybody knows. And they actively decide to not engage it because let's just let time grow over it.
Yeah.
And be it. But I think that's the point where I'm referring to the backpack. It's still there. The problem still exists and wears you down every single day.
How we say it's the elephant in the room. You know, it's not that obvious, but it's still there.
It's still there.
It's there, but in an impactful way, in a huge way, let's say.
And it's like the backpack. You only realize how much weight, how much pressure, how much stress you put on yourself if you dissolved it, if you put it off your shoulders.
If you would, let's say, use that same energy that you use to distract yourself, but at this time into the right way to dissolve
it.
Problems.
So that's why accepting it is the first and actually the most important part of solving a problem.
Of course. That's why I wanted to dive deeper into it.
Yeah. Now, as I mentioned, the second part is understanding the problem. And with loneliness, as I said, it's a state of mind. First, we were talking about society. Society is pressuring you. Another reason why you are feeling lonely may be because you can't be with yourself. You define happiness with the activities with others. By the activities with others.
Where others are involved, let's say.
For example, if you feel bored and you're alone and you feel bored, you call someone, or you watch Instagram, or you whatever. So the main point is you can't be alone. Well, we're going to dig in deeper afterwards, but that's one reason why you maybe feel lonely, because you assume that just being physically alone is something negative and something bad, which is not, of course. And thirdly, you actually don't have any social connections. For example, like the moment you went to Graz.
The moment I came to Graz, I didn't have any social connections. Like it was it was actually new for me, because I come from a place where my whole life I was, let's say, involved in groups of people who I spent a lot of time with. I was surrounded from many people, big family, a large group of friends, etc. And it was a shocking experience, a really a cultural change, let's say, that really hit on me. How can we deal with feeling alone, isolated, or like you don't belong, as I did? Like, do you have any suggestions in which ways to deal with it?
Yeah, as I said, to dissolve a problem, you, or at least I, always take these 3 steps. We talked about like the first, the second one. To sum up the second one, they associate loneliness, or actually being physically alone, with something bad. Or you associate being alone, being physically alone, or being with something bad. Secondly, we actually have no connections, no social connections at the moment. It's always a moment. It's just a moment.
Of course, it was a period
and it can be changed. And you are dependent on others. You're dependent on your friends. You're dependent that you always do some activity with someone else. So these are the 3 reasons, the 3 main reasons why you experience harmful loneliness.
But I think that's also something in our culture. That's an aspect of our culture. We really connect the feeling of happiness or belonging with others. For example, families, loved ones, etc. That's why it has been, let's say, at the beginning, even more stressful to just experience being alone. For example, it wasn't something normal to just sit on a coffee shop by yourself, or to eat alone, to go and eat alone, to enjoy a meal. It was like something that nobody does, you know? So how can you go from that stage to embracing being alone?
Well,
from someone who isn't used at all, who feels isolated, who feels like someone who doesn't belong, to dive deeper into themselves and embrace these feelings.
Well, firstly, it's fine. No, I actually mean it.
Yeah.
It is fine. It's a moment. Yeah. Even if it was a continuous one for a long time, but please take out the pressure for yourself. If you put on so much pressure on yourself, it just gets worse. So don't worry. We're still going to change it, but like it's fine to experience it. Yeah. To have a bad experience, but we will change it. Yeah. Everybody experiences something bad. You're not the only one. We all been through some form of negative experience.
I think it starts with this. That's actually how it all starts, or it has to start from there. Like accepting that you don't have to be happy all the time. You don't have to be energized all the time or at your best. There are also times of struggle, and from there you can start learning more.
Yes, and overcoming them and growing. But as I said, we still want to change it.
Of course.
And well, the following tips are just not like, they don't have to be in order or something. Just start with the thing that sounds right for you.
That feels good.
That feels good. And actually that's the first thing I would change, or I would do, is do something you really like.
Yeah.
For example, I love playing volleyball. And if I would be in a situation where I come to a new city, being all alone, all by myself, I would try to find communities that share my love, that share my hobby for whatever, for the same passion. You will get to know so many people about your passion.
Yes.
Yeah. And by being passionate about it, people are going to be attracted to you because they see you in a different, they see your energy. And
they see you in a different light, let's say. Not as someone who was feeling lonely, but as someone who is really passionate about what
and who is nice to hang out with. Yeah, who's just fun to hang out with, who shares the same passion. People are attracted to that. Everybody has some passion. For example, if you, I don't know, love books, you can go to a book club. Yeah. For example, like there is always something. Then take care of yourself. I mean always. It. As I said before, harmful loneliness is a mental state. So to cure your mental state, take yourself time and take time for yourself.
And
actively prioritize yourself. Do something you like. Do something you like, for example. Take a deep, long soaking bath.
And not feel guilty about
it. And yes, don't feel guilty about it. Because it is really nice.
Yeah.
It is. The next point we kind of already discussed is actually be compassionate. Be compassionate with others. That's also something spiritual. If you give something, it will always come back.
Come back in a way.
Yeah, in a way. Whether it's good or bad. Like if you give out something bad, it will come back. And if you give out something good, it will come back. But even more. I promise you. So actually be compassionate. I know this is maybe a bit hard because many will suffer from, probably can suffer from social anxiety, but it don't have to be much. It just can be like a simple compliment.
Yes.
For example, hey, I like the way you dressed today. People feel happy about it. Yeah.
Take care
people
of yourself.
People are
anything.
Very simple stuff.
Yes.
Doesn't have to be like a whole conversation.
Do you know these kind of small talks when you're waiting at the bus station or tram station?
Yes.
And it really has lightened up my day when I've heard those kind of little compliments.
Yeah.
And it makes such a huge impact during your whole day, or during for the energy
That's such a perfect example. Yeah.
Yes,
it's about like these little talks about the bus station.
I love
and they light up the whole day.
That's why I love the old ladies. They are the best when it comes to that.
Yeah, you and your old ladies.
Yes, it happens most of the time.
I know.
They are so lovely. I don't know. I love the compliments, especially from old ladies.
Especially for old ladies, yeah. Well, you do you.
I do me.
But still, the point is that you lighten up a whole day for someone. You actually have the power to do that.
Yes.
And as I said, it's actually something spiritual that if you give something, it will come to you again.
Good
So
point.
that means if you can lighten up a day for someone, at some point, someone will come up to you and just lighten up your day.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you mentioned a bit spiritual term. What do you think? What's your opinion? How can spiritual faith help in moments when we feel isolated or disconnected or abandoned? I know, at worst scenarios.
If we talk about spirituality, I think it's most important that everybody is going to make his own mind about it. And that's what I'm going to do. I will share my point of view and don't pursue someone to think the same as I should. So that's
we don't want
that. That's not, but it's actually essential because spirituality for me is your personal connection to God or to something higher. Your personal connection. That means it's influenced, but it's not the decision of others. And that's why it differs from religion. Yeah. Religion says you exactly how your faith should look like. Spirituality does not.
Okay, so
it's something personal.
We are talking, let's say, this religion says that you have to be inside of these frames, and in your point of view, spirituality,
there is no frame at all.
Yeah, in your opinion,
yes, there is no frame at all.
It's not framed at all.
It's important to make your own decisions, and it's important that it feels right for you. I will explain in another episode why the feeling of how it feels, not just the rational thought about it, if it's rational, like accepted for yourself, but also why it feels good. Just trust this feeling. I will explain it later on. But let's go back to overcoming loneliness, also with a spiritual aspect. As I said, make your own mind. But for me, overcoming loneliness with spirituality, we all have the connection. We all have a spiritual connection. We all have a connection to God.
Yeah.
In
any way,
some way. And I think this connection, and I also think everybody is loved by God. That means you are safe because you cannot have like a bigger guardian than God. For me, that kind of puts off the pressure of like, oh my God, what's going to happen?
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm being alone.
Yeah. But there is a sense to it.
No.
And I'm being watched over. That's just for me. That's for me. That just like takes off all the pressure. It does give me purpose. Spirituality, we will talk, as I said, we will talk about this later on because it's such a huge topic, but spirituality is the same thing as personal development. So in personal development, what does that mean? Personal development means to dissolve, to dissolve all your problems, to dissolve all negative influence you put yourself under.
Yeah, to analyze everything.
Yeah.
And
actually to dissolve all these negative emotions that you've created or that some situations create for you. And that's the same with loneliness.
Yeah.
Loneliness, as I said, loneliness in a harmful way, creates negative thoughts and emotions that do not help you. So that's part of personal growth. And that's for me, like that's a purpose. Why I'm experiencing it? Because I want to grow as a human being. I want to be better. That's why I'm experiencing it. Because, because there's something I have to learn. And I trust this process. And it's a very practical process.
I love that.
So that's also like giving off this pressure. Like it's fine where I am and it has a purpose why I'm experiencing it.
Since we're at the topic of spirituality. I would really like to know, how do spiritual practices help at this case? What do you suggest? Like, let's take meditation for an example.
At the moment, I'm thinking of 3 ways, spiritual ways, that you can overcome loneliness. First, let's talk about meditation.
Since it's something that I'm more familiar with.
Meditation itself is a huge topic, because there are so many techniques out there. There are so many possibilities, and there are so many demands, you should do this and you should do that, and
guidelines. More time.
Another,
Our society is crazy.
A lot of guidelines again. My approach, with which I have been quite successful, I would say, for myself, is also do the things that feels right for you. Also with meditation, like there is so much out there, but just, and also not every technique is suitable for everyone. There are some certain meditation techniques that are just suited for some specific people. And to decide if you're one of these people is to start trusting yourself. You have to try it, and you have to start trusting yourself. You know if it feels right or wrong. Listen to your feeling. Also, of course, think rational about it. Of course, always be critical. But in first instance,
trust it. Trust your gut.
Yes, and trust the answer you give yourself. Trust the feeling, and also trust your rational mind. Criticize it, and if it fits for you, if it just fits, then stick with it. Do it.
Love that approach.
And that may change over time. It don't have to be fixed, because you change. Also, the more I adapted and tried new spiritual practices or meditation practices.
Really interesting. Actually, I've also experienced quite the same. Like, I'm not as advanced as you when it comes to this topic.
Advanced.
Yeah, let's say it that way. But still, like, in the beginning, I only wanted to... I could only concentrate with guided meditations, let's say. But now it feels right for me to do it all by myself. So
it's a perfect example how it changes.
And I would also suggest to everyone to make what feels right for them.
And as you asked me at the beginning, what are different spiritual aspects of how to overcome loneliness? As I said before, personal growth and working on yourself is a very spiritual process itself. Yes, that's actually just practical work. Finding out why you have this problem, overcoming this problem by acting against the problem, as we talked before. That's actually something spiritual, because it's all about you and you growing. And that's, for my sense, something spiritual, because the goal of spirituality is to make you better, to just let you grow. The last thing, and that's something everybody has to decide for themselves, and that sounds quite simple, but ask God.
For science, I would say.
Ask the thing you believe in. Like, I think most people believe in some form of transcendent thing.
There are many things out there.
There are many things out there. And just ask, because it's very important. Humans have their free will. So to accept this free will, like for example, God accepts this free will. So if you don't ask him, he can't do anything, because you didn't allow him to interfere.
You didn't ask for help.
You didn't ask for help. But if you do so, he can do something. It's not like he shows up in front of you. It's more subtle. For example, you get experiences in your everyday life that makes you think in a certain direction that leads to the solution of your problem. Just for an example, that's how it works.
You'll get an answer.
As I said, that's something I do personally,
Me
and it
too.
works for me. I did have many good experiences doing so, and even fast. This is not like it takes forever, like 1 year or something. It actually, for some things I asked, like, how do I solve it? Like, I don't know the answer
Yes.
to. Suddenly, like the day after, some YouTube video pops up. It can also be like this.
But you ask for an answer, you get it, but you don't choose how you get it.
Yes.
And yesterday
True that.
I actually saw this video. She's also an influencer and a podcaster herself, I think. And it was quite interesting because she was saying, I asked for a sign. I asked God for a sign, any sign, because she wanted to choose the name of her child, of her daughter. And she was like, if it has to be this name out of two, then send me a sign of a hawk. 2 days later, I think, but really quick, she got on her post case a package where a hawk was like illustrated on it or something, and it was really interesting. But I also get like we've talked many times how I get like some kind of signs, want an answer about something. Yeah, really interesting. Just ask about it. It will come.
I think it sounds so simple that maybe it sounds stupid for some.
For some it may sound stupid, but
actually,
it's what it is.
Might try it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
try it for fun.
Yeah. Actually, try it for fun. Why not? I mean, you also have to see it. You also have to recognize it. That's also, after you ask, you should be aware that something is coming. Because if you are not aware, there is a sign. Because if you're not aware about the hawk, you will never realize it, of course. Try it. Why not? I personally made good experiences with this let's call it technique.
Okay, we'll call it that.